Hi everyone, I don't usually cover dramas and I try to stick to memes and funny stuff, also subscribe if you're interested, but I'm seeing my home invaded by discussions around the 2XKO layoffs, and some of them I feel like are more doomposting than actually try to inform about the situation. So I researched, did my homework, and now I'm here to clarify some points and then give my 2 cents about it. First of all, I want to clarify the main 3 points that are not really talked about. Number 1. This is a 2XKO layoff, not a Riot layoff. This means that the people that are laid off can still apply for other games in the Riot ecosystem. If the dev doesn't find any position in the Riot ecosystem, he will be then laid off from Riot themselves. But they get 6 months of pay to sustain themselves until they find another position into the market, which is honestly way more than any company here in Italy gives when you get laid off, if they give you any, that is. Number 2. No, 2XKO is not on life support, the game has a roadmap and they will stick to it. The game had 160 devs, which was an insane number for a game with no story mode, no world building, and that planned to release only 4 characters every year alongside some cosmetics. 80 devs are still more than enough to cover this game. And 3. Even the layoffs are happening at less than a month from the full release of the game. I don't think that the two things are 100% related. And more than likely was already planned as shrinking due to what I said at the second point. We have to remember that Riot put Legends of Runeterra in the state that we know today after 3 years that not only generated far less than their competition, but also operated as a loss for the company. Do you really think that a company that waited this much to downsize a game will do it this early after the release of another game? We also have to remember that Riot has a habit to operate as a loss, considering that their events have a negative profit and that Arcane costs way more than what it generated. So I don't really see how a month after the release will be enough for this company to take this kind of measures. Now that we clarified the layoff, I will give you my 2 cents about 2XKO. I played the beta, got hooked at the beginning and then dropped it. Honestly, I feel like the game has some big flaws and it's clear that it's suffering from a long development with many changes of direction. It's like the Final Fantasy Versus 13 into Final Fantasy 15. I'm not saying the game is bad, I find it polished, it has an insane internet stability which is crucial for a competitive environment, but it suffers from poor management choices and it's clear by many factors. For starters, they didn't really advertise the game. When a new game drops, you see it spammed on YouTube or on social media, but I didn't see a single 2XKO ad. So, outside of the self-informed, there was not really hype around the release. Many people didn't even know the game finally released last month, others still think it's in development, so it's pretty obvious that this has an impact on early traffic and sales. Riot always had this problem that they refuse to advertise themselves properly outside of their ecosystem, and it's really counterintuitive for a company that wants to attract new players that are outside of the ecosystem. Another point where you can sense the lack of a clear vision is 5 characters out of 12 are from the Arcane cast, and it's even crazier if you consider that Arcane has 11 characters in total out of 170 plus champions in League of Legends. Besides, if you look at the roster, you can see that the selected champions have little to no variety. Let's look at it together. We have 3 big heavy characters, then 3 average humans with gadgets, with the addendum of a squirrel that does the same thing, a samurai, a boxer, and finally a bit of variety with a mage, a robot and a werewolf. Now, I want you to look me in the eyes and tell me that these were the better choices to represent League of Legends, a game with gods, demons, darkens, voids and like 13 regions, which by the way, in 2XKO have a really poor representation if we think that out of 12 characters, 6 comes from the same place. But most importantly for me, 2XKO tried to accomplish an impossible task. Creating a game in the most mechanical and difficult niche that is both beginner-friendly without sacrificing the competitive edge for the veterans of the genre. A walking contradiction. They tried to simplify the combos with pulls, but that doesn't help with the other 50 hidden mechanics that a fighting game has. So the learning curve is still steep, you still need to get destroyed for 2 years straight and then you understand the fundamentals. An auto combo tool can help you against other unskilled players like me, but it only teaches you to button mash, which is pretty punishable by an average fighting game enthusiast. So what happens is that the tourists of the genre that came solely for the IP try the game, they see that they can stun locked for 12 seconds into a combo, they say, wow, this game is not for me, and drop it in a week. It doesn't help that outside of PvP, this game has nothing else going on, so if you don't want to get beaten to a pulp, you have no other incentive to play. Also, fighting games are really niche. There are really big franchises into the genre that dominates the market from generations at this point. As an ignorant in the early 2000s, I always heard about Tekken, Soul Calibur, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat and Guilty Gear, and today all these IPs are still at the top of the market. So 2XKO not only has to prove to be really enjoyable for the veterans, but it also has to fight a whole generational legacy and nostalgia factor. Personally, if they wanted to do a fighting game, they had to cater to the fighting game market, and if they wanted to attract more people to the IP, they should have chosen a more popular and accessible niche. I don't think this game can accomplish both at the same time. If I had to predict the future of 2XKO, I think it will be a stable run, not top of the market, with a fidelized core of players that happen to be both fighting game enthusiasts and fans of the IP, with people of either the categories circling around it periodically. It will be a game that will get into the spotlight for a month, with every release of a new character, both in the good and the bad, depending on the character, to then go back into more neutral territory. Solid, somewhat reliable, but not groundbreaking. These were my 2 cents on 2XKO. Let me know in the comments if you have a different take. Don't forget to join the Discord and subscribe for more. This is Gyoza, I'm out.